I have more ideas for art projects bouncing around in my head than I can possibly ever have time for. I have things I want to draw, crafts that I want to do, a new sketchbook I want to start, art business ideas to make, picture books to illustrate, clay ornaments to sculpt, cross-stitch projects to
Christmas
start,
illustrations
art
to draw,
challenge to join, maybe a picture of some little squirrels having a picnic together,
or a hedgehog or a field mouse or a beautiful closed garden on a sunny spring afternoon.
Maybe you're the same. Or maybe it's just me. If you are stuck in the same creative ideas tornado, then you might also be like me and feel a bit overwhelmed with which project to work on when you sit down to draw and end up not knowing where to even begin. Sometimes for me, when I do actually pick one of my million ideas and start something, if I don't finish it in one art session, then before I get a chance to come back to it, I find myself spontaneously working on another idea and I end up with a dozen half-finished art projects. I used to feel guilty about the projects that I didn't see through to the end, but I think it's actually a quiet superpower of creative people that we have so many ideas and so much passion for making things. So if you're telling yourself off for not finishing things, try to remember that it's not a flaw or a fault, it's just a symptom of being a curious, creative human. But in saying that, sometimes it is nice to finish things. So how can we get clear on our creative projects and organize our ideas so that we can actually complete a project from time to time? Well, first I think it's really helpful to get all of your creative ideas down on paper and out of your head. Just write down everything, even the ideas that seem really small and silly, so that they have a place to live outside of your head. I'm currently really excited to work on some seasonal drawing ideas. I want to improve my art in a couple of specific areas, and I'm really keen to start working on my Arty Advent Calendar, which is a digital advent calendar for artists that I host every December on my Patreon. So once everything is written down, you can start to prioritize things a bit. I like to do this by cutting them out as individual ideas and then grouping them into 3 categories. Things I'd really absolutely love to do, things I'd like to do, and things to do later that can wait a little while. The things that I'd love to do are the highest priority. They're what I'm most excited to work on, so at the moment that's some of the seasonal art ideas and my Arty Advent Calendar. Try to just keep a few ideas in this category because otherwise you'll still be overwhelmed. The things that I'd like to do are still things that I'm excited about making, but can wait until after the ideas in the first category. Usually, once I've done the highest priority projects, these ones will get promoted and other projects I'll work on next. And lastly, anything else goes in the things to do later category, and these are things that I'd like to do but can wait until after the other projects are finished. I find that this exercise helps so much in just getting a little bit of clarity without setting out a rigid plan. Now that you have these categories, you can display them however you like. I think it's fun to put them into 3 separate jars or pots, and when you're ready to make something, you can pull an idea from your highest priority pot to work from, and when all of those are gone, you can start moving up ideas from your next priority pot. This system makes it really easy to add new ideas or reshuffle the order anytime. It's just a physical place to lightly organize all of those creative ideas that you have floating around in your head. Now, some of your projects might be bigger and need a bit of planning before you can actually start creating, like my Arty Advent Calendar, so let me show you how I break those down. First, I like to brainstorm the more specific things that I'll actually make, and then I'll organize the project a little bit. So in this example, the calendar is 12 small art-related goodies that I share with my patrons, one every other day from December 1st until December 23rd, which means that I need to create 12 cute festive things. They have to be mostly things that are fairly small and easy to make, things like phone wallpapers or coloring pages or printable Christmas decorations, but I can put in a few bigger things that are really useful to artists, like some digital art brushes or art tutorials. Once I've got some more specific ideas, I'll organize them into a small plan for the project. You could do that on paper, but I really like using Milanote, who are the sponsor of today's video, and they're a visual organization tool that I've been using for years in my creative business. Because I'm trying to break this project down into smaller tasks, I'll make a note for each item that I'm making and add any other information that goes with it, like the date that I'm posting it and a reference of what it will look like or any inspiration that I collect for it. These reference images I'm putting in are from previous year's advent calendars, so I'll probably make new assets, but sometimes I do reuse old ones. And I'll probably change the order of these posts later in case any of my patrons are watching this, because I don't want to ruin the surprise of when they'll be getting their advent goodies, because it's supposed to be a secret. Mimimoo is really great for brainstorming, inspiration boards, and checklists, and I love how easy it is to move things around and just make a simple plan that isn't too rigid but just really helps me visually lay out a plan for a project. I can make boards within boards where I can collect inspiration by bringing in images directly from other sites, so I can find inspiration on a site like Pinterest and use their web clipper tool to save that image directly to one of my boards. I can also make color palettes with colors taken directly from those images, which is really handy as an artist too. So once I have a bit of clarity on the 12 things I'm going to make for this project, I'll make a simple checklist so that I can tick off my progress for making them, but since I already have some of the assets made from previous years, I don't need to list everything. Then I'll add another checklist to tick off my progress for actually posting them, since this is something I'm sharing on Patreon. Now I can use this board to reference what I'm making for this project and track my progress with it too, which will be really handy as I make everything throughout November. Mimimoo is a great planning tool for artists that I personally really enjoy using for my art projects. If you'd like to try it out, you can use Mimimoo for free with no time limit by signing up using the link in my description, so maybe give it a go next time you're planning your own art project. And if you'd like to get access to my Arty Advent Calendar, then join me on Patreon where I'll be releasing it throughout December. So now that I've got my ideas down and I've prioritized them, I can sit and draw something from my highest priority pot. But what if you're short on time and still have art projects you want to work on? How do you make time for your art? I know that a lot of you have busy schedules with family responsibilities, professional work, school, chores, and everything else, but there are still some ways you can find a bit of time for your art if that's something you want to prioritize. So first, start small. You don't need to spend hours making art to get in some practice. You can start with just 15 or 20 minutes of sketching or doodling if that's all you have time for. When I first committed to drawing every weekday, I told myself that even if I just sat down for 20 minutes to draw an outline or a little character, then that would be enough. I talk more about this in my Building an Art Habit video, but just 20 minutes a day can really add up over time. Set yourself some realistic expectations based on your schedule for how much time you could comfortably put aside for your art, and if that's just 20 minutes 2 or 3 times a week, then that's totally fine. If you're short on time, try to aim for consistently spending a little bit of time on your art regularly, rather than pressuring yourself to find 2 hours to sit and make something. Secondly, make it a priority. It can be really difficult to find time for your art if you have lots of other responsibilities, but if art is self-care for you, then it's important and should be prioritized alongside the other things in your schedule. It doesn't have to be the most important thing, and it sometimes feels like just a luxury or a silly hobby, but if making art is important to you, then you can absolutely tell yourself and everyone around you that it's one of your priorities. Until it becomes a priority, it's just going to slip between the cracks every day, and it's going to be really hard for you to justify sitting down to create something. So tell yourself that your art is one of your priorities, that you're allowed to spend some time being creative, and that it's important that you find a little bit of time for it when you can. Believing that for yourself will make it much easier to build an art habit. Thirdly, make it easy. Rather than having to set up lots of art supplies every time you want to draw and then pack everything down again, see if you can make things as easy and simple as possible to save yourself time. If you can set aside a small space in your home that's designated as your little art space, then that's perfect. If not, keep all the tools you need together in one place or in one bag that you can easily grab when you're ready to make some art. The easier it is, the more likely you will be to do it. Something else that helps me is to put my art supplies somewhere that I can see them, so I'm reminded to practice, and better yet, I'll put them somewhere where I'm most likely going to be procrastinating, like next to the couch and near the TV, so that I'm more likely to see my supplies and start drawing something. And lastly, focus on one thing at a time. If you don't have much time available, really focus your energy on one illustration or art project at a time. Spreading yourself thin over several projects can make you feel like you aren't getting anywhere if you only have small pockets of time available, so get your ideas organized and prioritized and just choose one to focus on completely and know that the others will still be there when you're finished and ready to move on to the next one. There's no rush to get everything done at once, so choose a project and give it time. If you're learning to draw or want to access my Arty Advent Calendar in December, then consider joining me on Patreon, where I host an illustration club every month that you can use for inspiration and accountability. I also have lots of video art tutorials on art basics like color palettes and composition, and step-by-step guides to teach you how to draw things that you can get instant access to when you join. If you enjoyed this video, then I think you already enjoy this other art video of mine, so just click on the thumbnail on screen to pop it on. I love being able to share these videos with you. I appreciate you all so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.